want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife, new face versus old face. In recent parts passim, I analysed the fact that Harry's wife has had some work done because she's a somatic narcissist. Naturally, it's her face and body, she can do with it what she wants. But for somebody that often talks about eating clean and being natural, the repeated reliance upon cosmetic surgery does again underline her hypocrisy. It's also a useful way of explaining to you how aging is such a threat to control of the somatic narcissist. As things go south, as skin becomes more wrinkled, as it loses its elasticity, as the hair doesn't behave, as the skin becomes saggy, all of those things, the process of aging, is something that causes a somatic narcissist to invariably react with horror. She has to trade on her looks and sexuality, doling out the spicy poontang, because those are two major weapons of seduction and manipulation. It's not as if she's going to seduce anybody with her forensic analysis of the works of Shakespeare, is it? Or her pioneering observations about new energy sources. All she can do is dole out things that she's heard elsewhere, which will be sufficient by way of character trait acquisition to impress old bozo Harry. But for anybody else, they'd be thinking, good Lord, she's boring, as they have to listen to another fridge magnet platitude and more Duchess of Beigeness. Accordingly, her appearance is hugely important to her, although entertainingly she invariably fucks it up with regard to the ill-fitting clothes that she wears. Now, ordinarily, commenting on her appearance isn't something that would necessarily be done, but it is pertinent to the question of her narcissism. The fact that she feels moved to have these obvious changes, yet, as you will find in forthcoming video, denying that there's been work done, is demonstrative of the way that her narcissism functions. She's aging, that's a threat to control, she needs to have some work done, and denies that that's the case, and denies it forcibly, because the suggestion that someone as beautiful and as natural-looking as her needs some form of cosmetic enhancement is also a threat to control, even though to anybody looking, it's patently obvious that she has. And as you can see on your screen, we have a comparison between how she looked when she was on the cover of Cut and how she's looked recently with the new unveiling. If we take the look in Cut first, the hair's scraped back so tightly it's a wonder it didn't rip out at the scalp, although it does allow another glimpse at that white scalp. We have, of course, her fixed stare, the narcissist stare, dead behind the eyes, no warmth emanating as she stares into the middle distance. The bolts fixing her head to her neck have strangely been left on display. I beg your pardon. Those are cocoons of some caterpillars that are nesting on there, aren't they? No? Wait, what? Oh, it's jewellery. Okay, I guess it must have been made from that rare element of purest green, with thanks to Percy from Blackadder. There, of course, is the black turtleneck, de rigueur, to say that you're Steve Jobs serious or Elizabeth Holmes fraudulent. Lips slightly apart, poised with the next fridge magnet platitude. Freckles, of course, are on full display. You could take a Sharpie and connect them up in some bizarre join-the-dots picture. They're spattered across her forehead, cheeks and nose, and she's purportedly very proud of those freckles. Ultimately, it created a somewhat menacing picture that she was some perhaps crazed fembot that was going to burst out of the magazine cover and smother you with a pillow if you didn't give her some money. And then we turn to new face. For it to be asserted that there are no changes is frankly taking the piss. But when you look at new face, what's the first thing that races through the synapses of your brain? What is it that's rushing across your mind as you look at her? Smug. Smug, smug, smug. Smugger than a Cheshire cat full of cream and toying with a mouse. smugger than James Corden arsehole after signing a new multi-million-dollar contract to make such a little go a very long way as he wolfs down his 6th donut of the day. But leaving aside her reeking of smugness, there are some serious changes that have taken place. The most obvious to my mind is her chin. Look at the cut picture. It's a sort of V-shape. Then look at the new face. It's a chin that might have been borrowed from Bruce Forsyth. If you don't know who he is, look him up. Her eyes have changed colour. She must be wearing contact lenses, or there's been some kind of touching up or filter being used. Her nose looks different. It's less flared. The bridge is slimmer. That could be, of course, the effect of makeup, or it might be that she's had some work done. The cheekbones. Patently obvious that there's something happened there, and it must be where she's now secreting Harry's balls rather than in her handbag. Where, oh where, Freckles, where art thou? You have been banished from this land. That once she was so proud of them, now they've gone. Perhaps it's time to send out a search and rescue to bring the Freckles back. And also, while they're at it, bring back the mole. Where's it gone? It's been served an eviction notice. It's been frogmawed. And then the hair. Sleek, poker straight, coloured. No, of course. It's a change, and many people do change their hairstyle. But you were to look at this picture. Would you look upon it? Imagine you knew nothing of her, and you were invited to state the race of this individual. Would you say, I'm looking at a person of colour? No. You might possibly veer towards Hispanic, but most people would probably think that they were looking at a white woman. And once again, we see the racial hypocrisy of Harry's wife, that she plays the race card repeatedly, but does everything she can to erase looking black from her. Her nose, her hair, different. The freckles that she spoke of so proudly vanished. Must be under some layer or filtered out. I wonder what her children think when they see her. Perhaps they don't notice because they don't spend enough time with her. But it'd be interesting to see what their reaction is to this person who looks vastly different. Yes, you know it's Harry's wife, but when you compare the two photographs side by side, you can see a multiplicity of changes. Looking at her reminds me of the mother in the film Brazil. If you haven't seen that film, do watch it, it's fantastic. Who's older than Harry's wife, but is obsessed with having cosmetic surgery in order to try and look young, to the extent that she basically just melts and falls apart. Harry's wife is in her 40s, and what awaits her? If she's doing this at this age, what will she do when she's in her 50s, when she's in her 60s? And how will she deal with the full horror of the advancement of age at that juncture? This, of course, is all driven by her narcissism. And there's two factors at work here. The first, to nullify the threat to control posed by aging. Secondly, the necessity of looking desirable, at least through in her eyes, in order to manipulate people. However, what you're left with is a reaction from many people who find that she looks too plastic, that she looks cloned, and that she then has to deny that she's had any work done, which once again demonstrates that it's complete nonsense, because anybody looking at those two photographs can see that she has had work done, and it makes a mockery to suggest otherwise. Once again, a collateral consequence of what she has to do in order to assert control, i.e. have cosmetic surgery, and thereafter, when challenged by people commenting on it, there has to be the denial issued also. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.